Jiren Stevenson coming home to Chapel Hill, and it's time for this young man to live up to his full potential.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Wednesday going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I want to welcome in all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders as well. We'd love to see you join any of those. That link is in the show notes. It's a great place to be. Coming up today, the non-conference schedule came out yesterday, Tuesday. Coach Rob and I are going to unpack that on Thursday's show, so buckle up for that. But today, we carry on our roster preview series. Here to help me do that, my buddy and yours, Mr. Riley Davis, of being the father of Theo fame. But you can find him elsewhere on Sleepers Media, amongst all the other great stuff that he does. Make sure you go give Riley a follow on the Twitter machine at Riley_Davis3. Follow all of his great work and everything he's got going on. So what Riley and I are doing today is carrying on the roster preview series. We've done the freshmen, Caleb Wilson, Derek Dixon, Isaiah Denis, the sophomores, Jonathan Powell, James Brown, Ivan Matlekovic. We've done two of the juniors, Kyan Evans, Henri Veesaar, and today we move on to Jarin Stevenson, who is where he was supposed to be all along. Riley Davis, great to see you, buddy. Great to be with you. We've been chatting before we started recording here. It's good to catch up. Would you, good sir, hit us with the Jiren Stevenson bio blast?
I would love to, Isaac. I'm so glad you asked me about him. You already know he is from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, went to Seaforth in Pittsburgh. What's the phrase? A jump, hop, skip, and a jump. I know we got some old heads that are tuning in, so I just want to show that I can speak their language. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Chapel Hill. He's a junior coming in here from Alabama. Sort of a combo forward. I know he played the three a good bit of Alabama. They started the season with him lining up at that small forward spot before sliding him down to his more natural four position, which that was when I believe he started coming off the bench for them, and they went with the three guards. Checking in at 6'10", 215 pounds, jersey number 15, and you already know we're going to talk about those social media handles at Jiren Stevenson. Nothing too fun there, kind of straight and to the point, but at Jiren Stevenson on both Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, it's like, so you're not going to get confused. You know who it is. It's like mine. Mine are all just at Isaac Schade because I got weird, dumb names, Riley. You don't have that because there's lots of Rileys and lots of Davises. And so do you like the just Jarin Stevenson at gmail.com kind of approach here? Or do you like it to be a little more flowery and flamboyant?
I like a little bit of spice, a little bit of excitement in the social media handle. My personal favorite, Rob Dillingham, Rob with the shifts. I don't think you'll ever top that. So, but with Jared, I'm like, he's not the shiftiest, so you can't do something like that. 3-point percentage needs to come up. I know he likes to shoot a lot. Like maybe Jiren with the burner would be fire if he like shoots a career high from three this year. That would be my advice to him. If he can really fine tune that jumper and like, you know, right now I think we'll get into this, but I think his biggest attribute is his defense. He's so versatile on that end of the court. Yeah. But to be like that 3-and-D archetype, I'd like to see that 3-point percentage come up. So yeah, if he can do that, maybe we can work a little bit. We can workshop some ideas with the social media handles.
I like it. So maybe keep it bland and vanilla right now while he's at his current status. And maybe we'll give him like a 6 for at least we definitely know who it is. There's no questioning that. Riley, I got another fun trivia moment for you. One of the cool things is that North Carolina typically puts the guys' full names in their bios. So, good sir, Jiren Stevenson, give me your guess on his middle name. I'll even give you the initial if you want it.
All right, let me get the initial.
It is Q. Q, which, as you would well imagine, means the second letter is definitely U.
Okay. Quentin?
Oh, very close. It's just the last little bit that you're wrong on.
Quincy?
Boom! Jiren Quincy Stevenson. Now that is a social media handle, my guy.
That's a solid name. I like Quincy.
JQ Stevenson? Come on, I can get behind that.
JQ Stevenson actually is really good.
Okay.
Honestly, he might need a rebrand to JQ.
Maybe. Like Conley, like Queers Conley, right?
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, Jaden Quaintance at Kentucky, they call him JQ. I just think those are two cool initials to put together.
All right. Come on, Jiren. Get on board the train here with
JQ Stevenson.
Riley, tell us what Jiren did in his second year down in Tuscaloosa last year.
Yeah, it honestly looked a lot like his first year. And I think maybe the skeptical view of Jiren would say, he didn't improve a ton year one and year two. I'm not really a Stevenson skeptic. I think there's some clear areas that I'd like to see him grow this year, but I think he's going to be a really high level rotation piece. And last season he put up 5.4 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game. And that was in 18.7 minutes per night. Looking at the field goal percentage, again, I'm sure we'll expand on this. This is really what you want to see improve. Just 42.9% from the field. Would like to see that at least be mid, preferably high 40s, even low 50s, given his height. And then the 3-point percentage, 30.7, 2-point percentage to break it down, 66%. So made 31 threes on the season, but did attempt 101 shots from long range compared to just 53 attempts inside the arc.
Yeah, man, that's going to have to grow, as well as the free throw percentage. Dude, 59.7% last year. There is no excuse for that. That's got to come up. Small sample size, I guess. I'll give him a little bit there, but 37 out of 62, 1.7 per game. And so, Riley, let me ask that big picture question then. As you said, the skeptical view is that Jiren maybe didn't have the leap from year one to year two, because I think those year one numbers is like, all right, for a kid that early enrolled, that reclassed, and did that, who was playing as a 17-year-old that didn't turn 18 till October. So I guess he was playing as an 18-year-old, but whatever, you get the point. Why in your mind didn't Jiren Stevenson enjoy the level of success at Alabama that a lot of people anticipated he would?
I think part of it is, well, some of it is youth. I think you can't knock like the reclass angle, even looking at his first year. But I remember watching him in that Elite Eight game. Gosh, that stung for a variety of different reasons, mainly because I thought Carolina should have been there, had that game. It felt like won multiple times, but couldn't close the deals. But against Clemson, I mean, I thought he swung that game for them. Alabama ended up squeaking out with a 7-point win. Stevenson came off the bench, hit 5 threes en route to scoring 19 points. He was automatic that game. And when you watch that combined with some of the defensive flashes that he showed, I sort of bought him as an NBA prospect going into his sophomore year, and was thinking this could be a guy who, is getting a little overlooked at Alabama, bringing back an All-American in Mark Sears and Cliff Amorie, who was one of the crown jewels of their transfer portal haul. They brought in a couple 5-stars in Darion Reed, Aiden Sherrill, and then LeBaron Philon, who ended up being the best of that group as a high 4-star. Like, he really flew under the radar and was someone who, at least had the workings of what you look for in a modern NBA, like 4-man who can maybe slide down and play the 5, play the 3, like just a versatile forward who can knock down threes and play really good defense. But in terms of why he didn't progress from that, I would say this is even my biggest question for what is he going to do in Chapel Hill / what will he be asked to do? It comes down to like figuring out what he is on the offensive end. Can he do more than just kind of float along the perimeter and shoot threes? We hit on that with the field goal percentage, but I want to see him be more physical, which just hasn't really been his game through 2 years. I would love to see him use that size more, stick his nose in there a little bit more, whether it's getting rebounds or even like I see a world where he could get some run at the 5, but I would like he needs to be more just either aggressive or assertive, rolling to the hoop. Yes. Yeah, like using his body better, all of that, instead of just kind of sometimes it just looks like he's going through the motions on offense.
Because when you watch the tape, when he does like get the ball outside of the perimeter and drive drive a closeout from a slower footed 4 or 5, he can get to the rim and finish, right? Like there's tape of that, and that's a thing. And so it makes me wonder, was that more an issue of what Nate Oates was asking him to do, or more of his own lack of aggression, right? Like I've pondered that all off season.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. With Oates is someone who I think very highly of as a coach in terms of what he runs. I mean, we know that his MO at this point, it's 3-pointers and layups/dunks. But I think generally speaking, of course, there's going to be some exceptions where their guards just get a little wild and they're unleashed and they take some shots that they really shouldn't. But for the most part, I think he runs good stuff to where their 3-point attempts come within the flow of the offense. But I'm like, I guess because of my respect for Nate Oates, that is where I find it a little bit tough to say. Like, it's tough to say that Stevenson wasn't used correctly, or that there's another notch he can unlock, or another level he can climb to that he wasn't allowed to show at Alabama. I don't know how true that is. Maybe you look at it from an angle of, I mean, they just had a ton of guards on that roster last year. Ton of guys who could handle, ton of guys who wanted to get their shots up. I mean, even Philon and Seegers, those were the two guys who were going to be handling and creating on every single possession for them. I mean, you factor in Aiden Holloway coming off the bench, another handler who he made, I think, 87 threes last year. Chris Youngblood, another guard who could play the 2 and the 3 and even handle a little bit. Darion Reed could handle. Like, there were a lot of mouths to feed there where maybe that's why Stevenson was an ancillary piece who did tend to float a little bit. I'm just not.
Grant, like, you wonder, like, did Grant Nelson fulfill some of that same thing that Stevenson could have done as like a stretch 4? Like, is that part of the factor? And then you overlay that on this year, and how do he and Caleb Wilson coexist, for example?
Yeah. Great question, because I know, Inside Carolina, they've been reporting this really since Stevenson committed, is that the staff wants to play some jumbo lineups with him and Caleb Wilson at the 3 and 4. And I think, you want to get in the nitty gritty of who is at which position between the two. I don't think it really matters. They're sort of interchangeable there. But yeah, I think that's a great question with, we saw him play next to Grant Nelson, and he took a lot more of that secondary role. Like, is that exactly what it's going to look like with Caleb Wilson too?
And however, it depends on, like, lineup wise, like, it depends on, is it the two of them with Cliff Omori, Grant Nelson and him? Similarly here in Chapel Hill now, is it he, Caleb Wilson, and Henri Veesaar playing that jumbo lineup? As opposed to, like, are there lineups where Veesaar's on the bench and you've got Wilson and Stevenson at the 4 and 5? That could be really intriguing.
I'm with you on that too. And again, this goes back to, like, I think it's less of, like, utilizing him differently than he was used at Bama, and more so just making him more of a presence around the basket. If you look at his free throw shooting numbers, his free throw rate was really low for someone his size. I believe, according to CBB Analytics, he was just in the 53rd percentile of shooting fouls drawn per game. And I just think it would make a massive difference in his game if he was more aggressive on the offensive glass and could draw some fouls on putbacks and get to the line. And again, that's where I would say it's a little bit tough for me to think, he just needs a change of scenery to unlock that, because under Oates, Alabama's been awesome on the offensive glass. That's been a tenet of their play style. They crash the glass really well. And, they're like, I indulged in some self-destructive behavior, Isaac. I did. I got to confess this to you as someone who I love and care about, need some accountability here. I rewatched the Alabama UNC game in the Dean Dome this past year. I did. I was just trying to get an idea.
Not the Sweet 16 game from 2 years ago, but the ACC SEC Challenge game.
Correct. Okay. The one that Carolina essentially trailed wire to wire, and Alabama fans were yelling "Roll Tide" like the final 6 minutes as fans exited. Miserable game, miserable experience. But I did want to get an idea of Jaren's strengths. And there are times where, like, he's definitely battling on the glass, but he's not always the most, again, aggressive or assertive in terms of just securing the ball, going back up with it, getting a bucket, or getting fouled. He's great defensively in that game, which I'm sure we'll hit on. But yeah, there's some skills there. Maybe you remember this play where he drives the baseline and finds Houston Millette in the corner and delivers this, like, awesome kick out pass. Like, there's some of that stuff where maybe that comes to life. But yeah, as a whole, I think I just want to see him, like, increase his lower body strength, go up stronger with the ball, and score more around the basket.
Well, there is a world of upside for Jiren Stevenson. What are those strengths? What are the weaknesses that he needs to overcome? Scouting report time coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the incredible Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season, because with Mazda, everyday drives like feeling like anything but just an everyday drive. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, like our players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Tar Heels, I thought the defense delivered in a big way this past week at Charlotte, the fewest points allowed to an FBS opponent since 2001. When the pressure was on, the defense came through, or Charlotte messed up a whole bunch of times too. No hesitation, no delay. And just like the defense delivered for the Tar Heels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. Stack it all up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. So order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. All right, we're talking Jiren Stevenson. Time to get into the scouting report. Riley, we've kind of hit on it in kind of referencing it, but let's be more specific. What are the strengths that you really like about Jiren Stevenson? What is the upside that made him the number one power forward in the class of 2024 before he ultimately reclassed?
For me, it starts and ends on the defensive side of the ball. That, I think, is where he's going to find a role immediately when he gets on the court at Carolina. I know a lot of Carolina fans, again, I kind of said at the top, I'm not really a Stevenson skeptic. I believe he can shine in his role. I don't know how big that role ultimately becomes, but I think at bare minimum, he will be a valuable contributor off the bench. And I think specifically with the potential of that jumbo lineup, I know some Carolina fans have sort of scoffed at that with maybe some shooting concerns. However, like the idea of going from having, you think back to the Duke game, having like, what was it? 6'3" Seth Trimble at the 3, 6'5" Ian Jackson at the 4. Now you have that flexibility to put 6'10" Caleb Wilson at the 3, 6'10" Jarin Stevenson at the 4, and just throw wingspan and length at opponents. But even with Stevenson specifically, he's really freaking mobile, dude. And I know that's always been his strength going back to his high school days when he was such a highly touted recruit of the 5-star ilk before he reclassed, was he was really mobile for his size. And again, go back and watch his minutes against Carolina and don't pay attention to the score. Like there are times where he switched on to RJ Davis and he talks, dude. Like he's communicating with his teammates. He's calling out switches and everything. There's one stretch where it's like one position. He switches on to 3 guys, keeps all of them out of the paint. And then I think Carolina goes down or Carolina misses the basket. Alabama goes down. I think this is like the Jiren Stevenson experience. He gets the ball on an offensive rebound, can't convert on the putback, going back to some of those strength concerns, but then chases down he gets a chase down block on Van Allen Lubin at the other end, where you see that defensive potential that I think should have every Carolina fan excited about what he can be. And to bring him, I'm guessing primarily for most of the season off the bench, is just going to be a big luxury.
And when you think back to 2 seasons ago when Carolina was a 1 seed, the calling card of that team, the DNA of that team was when that defense locked in. I don't know if we pinpointed at that Oklahoma game in the Jumpman Invitational, but I feel like that's when it really picked up and took off. And then they're like, oh, this is who we are. This team has the capability of doing things like that, even with Drake Powell out the door. And if Jiren can become a big part of what makes that happen, man, all the better, right? You talked about the communication, Riley. What was one of Hubert Davis's biggest complaints last year? My team is silent. They don't talk. They don't have leadership. From what I've seen of this team, I don't think they're going to have any trouble talking, because Caleb Wilson can't keep his mouth shut. And I mean that in a good way. Like there's so many of these guys. I think Seth is going to be a much more vocal leader as the leader of this team than RJ was, and on and on and on. And it's great that Jiren can be part of that. This team can be a lot more communicative. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, did you have any other strengths to add outside of the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, like thinking about some offensive things, right? Like because of that mobile ability, I think he is maybe a little bit of a better ball handler than people even think about for somebody his size.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he can rip and run a little bit. Maybe he's not going to finish it, as you said, but he could distribute it. He can finish like that positional size. If we're playing jumbo and he's at the 3, I would love to see. Do you have a post-up game, Jiren Stevenson? Let's go utilize that and just score over dudes, right? Like there's a lot of potential with there, and I would like to see some of that. The other thing is he is like one of the things he was known for is a shooter. He has not shown it. The on-court results have not been there in college. But as I watch his shot mechanics, Riley, there's nothing there to suggest he can't do it. You think about a tall pitcher, and one of the biggest issues they have is repeatable mechanics. I always think of Randy Johnson, and that's always a concern with a big shooter like Jarin Stevenson. But from what I've been able to watch of him, it seems like it's there and it's capable.
I'm with you on that. I think like his base is pretty solid. Like that seems to be consistent. Sometimes I think his release looks a little bit funny, but again, when you're looking at like someone of his size, maybe it's not always gonna look the smoothest. Like I would say someone like Brady Manick is the outlier in that, where his form was just pure. A lot of times you see some of these bigger dudes where like that's rare. So I'm not gonna expect that from Jiren, but yeah, I mean, I even think you mentioned in it with the reclass too. He's still 19 years old. Like I think that
turns 20 on October 15th.
Yeah. That's crazy to be a 19-year-old junior. And yeah, that I think that youth and that upside continues to give you the hope there. However, it's like, third year of college basketball, you need to start showing some of those flashes and turning that into actual production.
It's time to deliver. That's absolutely right. That said, what are some of the weaknesses or things that just, opportunities for growth, we might say in today's workplace, because we're scared of saying the word weakness, that have not allowed him to live up to that potential? Riley, what do you see there?
Secure an offensive rebound, go back up with it strong. That's my biggest thing. Like dunk the basketball, rise up there, use that size to your advantage, and just be a little bit more aggressive. Like I think there might be times Carolina could use him as a playmaker on the short roll or something, or every once in a while when, like, let's say they're, going out of their primary offense and is sort of flowing into like freelance, and maybe Jiren gets the ball in a reversal and he's attacking along the baseline, and you have moments for that where he can deliver a kick out pass to an open shooter in the corner or something. Like there are times where he should, I think, have that freedom to do it. But for the most part, I think he's going to be at his best the more simpler his role is offensively, where it's pick and pop threes and just straight up pick and roll and attacking the offensive glass and trying to finish your traffic. That's really all he needs to do. Maybe occasionally put the ball on the deck, try to take a slower footed big off the bounce. But to get him more comfortable in that role, clean up the shot a little bit and get stronger around the basket. You're looking at someone who could be a spot starter and play really good really good minutes off the bench.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I want to see that mean streak. I love what a nice person he is. But man, in between the lines, like, let's see it. And just, we need some meat on them bones, Riley. And I know that's, we're less than 2 months away from the season now, but you can continue to work on those. You mentioned it earlier. I'll just say it here again, is the field goal percentage and the free throw percentage, right? Like those should come up for the shooter that he is. Ultimately, we're looking to see what could Jiren Stevenson do to get on the floor more? What could he do to really push Caleb Wilson and help him grow and develop? Can this 3-man rotation in the front court, with all due respect to any of the other guys that might help out, but between Caleb and Henri, Veesaar, and Jiren Stevenson, man, that could be really, really dynamic if Jiren, I almost said Jarenson, whatever. All right, JQ, there it is. It's locked in. If JQ can reach that ceiling, and that's where we want to go next. I want to ask Riley to put his Hubert Davis hat on and tell me 3 things that he wants Jiren to be working on in these final 2 months leading up to the season. We'll make bold predictions. I've got an over-under for Riley and more to wrap the show coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Y'all, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets to use all across the app. One of the great things about FanDuel is that it fits however you'd like to play. Player props, building a same game parlay, even diving in and jumping in live as the action is unfolding. Maybe you thought that the Bills had no shot at coming back the other night on Sunday Night Football, and boy, would you have been dead wrong, and you would be glad you didn't get in on the action mid-game. But maybe you thought they were going to come back, and you're sitting very happy today. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team, just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup like I am, 1-0, thank you very much. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more juice and spice and energy to your Sundays. There's no line yet for the Carolina-Richmond game coming up on Saturday, but the Heels did cover at Charlotte on this past Saturday. Will they be able to do that again? We will find out. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, that's FanDuel.com. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Look, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, whether it's properties, investments, whatever else. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel like you're in control of your money without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Something that's important to me is my wife and I really like to spend a lot of time making sure we're in good communication about our finances, that we're up to date and we're in good shape. And Monarch makes it so much simpler for us to be able to do that and review our finances together. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Check it out. All right, Riley Davis, I want you to inhabit Mr. Hubert Davis. You don't have to do much last name changing, just a first name, and we'll take you there. What I want you to do is give us three things. Have an off-season meeting with our guy, Jiren, when he came home, and you said, Jiren, so glad you decided to leave Tuscaloosa and come home, play for your mama's alma mater. We're excited about it. Here's three things I need you to do before the 25-26 season. What is it?
So they're all kind of related, and I'm going to keep hammering the point home about strength. So the first I would say what's going to help you get on the court, Jiren, improve your rebounding. Through 2 years, career high in rebounds in a game is 7. I believe he hit that number 3 times last year, has yet to grab double-digit rebounds in a game, and you can see it, like, again, there are just times where it feels like he's floating, where I like – he has that ability to go up and secure a rebound, get a little stronger, a little more aggressive, give yourself more opportunities for easy buckets. And I think, again, after last year, I'm assuming Hubert's going to want to see a renewed emphasis on the offensive glass. Like, that was something that was, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would assume that was the lowest a Tar Heels team has ranked in offensive rebounding rate in probably decades, if not centuries and millennia, Isaac. Like, that to me would be one of the quickest ways to get yourself on the court. Secondly, related to that, I would say interior defense. Like, he's really good on the perimeter, but I think if he can get a little stronger and bang with some big men, that will help him get on the court as a 5. And I think that his path to being the backup 5 is well within reach. That'll tie into my bold prediction, but I want to see him acquit himself more, guarding bigs in the post, or even just like playing in a variety of pick and roll coverages, playing drop, be able to hedge, be able to switch whatever you want to run with him at the 5. He has the potential, I think, to give you some flexibility in what sort of ball screen coverage you're going to run, but just want to actually see it in action. Because, you know, and again, in Alabama, he spent a lot of his time guarding the perimeter, or guarding a wing or a 4-man in the corner.
Right.
And then thirdly, I'll just say free throw percentage. You know, if we're going to work on getting you some easier baskets and getting you to the charity stripe, let's go ahead and finish the play.
That just, I mean, that seems to check out to me, Riley. 2 things in response there. Number one, I want, you know how like before you go for a max, like on the bench, dudes are like, hey, slap me around, get me a little anger. Maybe he needs a good slap before he comes in the game. Just get slapped around a little bit. Also, to your point about offensive rebounding percentage, and this is a plug for the Locked On Tar Heels insiders, you get free access to all of my stats and charts and data. One of the things I do is keep a detailed game-by-game log of all the offensive rebounding numbers, including full offensive rebound percentage and free throw offensive rebound percentage, where we remove free throw offensive rebounds. And so it's just field goal offensive percentage. Anyway, the last year of Coach Williams, the team was 40% for the season. Every year of the Hubert Davis era has been 30, 31, 32 until last year when it dipped under 30% for the first time. So very much to Riley's point, that's got to be a point of emphasis for the Tar Heels this year. Riley, let's talk expected role, like depth chart position, minutes per game for Jiren Stevenson. I think neither of us would project him, at least initially, in the starting lineup, assuming everyone's healthy, assuming Luka Bogavac gets cleared to play, all of that stuff. But outside of that, where would you have him on the depth chart? 6, 7, 8? Where are you at?
He doesn't fit your typical like 6-man role. I usually think of a guard as a 6-man, but I believe he will be the first forward off the bench and probably slot in around 25 minutes per game.
Yep, I'm right with you. I was in the low to mid 20s on minutes per game, and like a very effective, like it needs to be like, you're in, do all the stuff, right?
Yep.
And it's weird with it as I've tried to process his role. Like you talked about it earlier in the show, specifically with offense. Like what is he going to be offensively? I feel that with him as what we think about this answer more than anyone else on this team. What is Jiren Stevenson's role? If Carolina can define that well, I think they're going to be very happy because then he'll be able to deliver on it, right? Like the other guys, it feels like they slot in pretty naturally to certain spots. And I struggle with that with him.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I don't want to be repetitive, but I'm like, just, he can play out a dribble handoff some, pop out for 3 off of that. And like, Kyan Evans, Luka Bogavac, whoever is receiving the handoff can find him for an open 3. He can shoot over his man if there's a switch. Like there are ways, again, to keep it simple, but maximize his strengths and put him in the best position that I really hope this staff does. And I do think it helps that, like, when I say 25 minutes, I'm going to guess it's something like he might see 5 minutes at the 3, 10 minutes at the 4, 10 minutes at the 5.
Yeah.
And again, some of that being able to hold up, like, I think that would be such a luxury for Carolina if he could man the backup 5 role and takes less pressure off James Brown, who hasn't played significant minutes in his college career. Same with Ivan Matlekovic, or excuse me, it's Ivan Matlekovic.
Ivan, yes.
I heard the pronunciation guy, Ivan. Young Von. That's what that's got to be the nickname for him. Just shorten it to Von. I think that'll go pretty good nickname. But sorry, I got off track and distracted speaking of Ivan Matlekovic pronunciation. But if you can bring someone like Jiren off the bench to play the backup 5 and you can lean on him for that, it allows both Ivan and James Brown to sort of grow at their own pace and not have to be forced into action. Like I would love for Henri Veesaar to play 30 minutes a game. I would assume that'll happen more often than not this season. But there are going to be nights where he gets into foul trouble. There's probably going to be games where he picks up 2 fouls in the first half and might get an auto bench. And that's where, like, if you can lean on Stevenson to just hold it down and roll to the hoop hard and pop out for 3s and give a little bit of versatility on that end, that'll just be such a boon for this team.
Yeah, and the conditioning factor, right? Like what is Veesaar's level of just run and gun like Carolina probably will want to do? Riley, which is a good moment for me to remember. I know you got jazzed because there was a practice video only to discover that it wasn't actually practice. It was just conditioning drills. I know you get hyped over the actual basketball. So you were the first person I thought of when I saw that video on Tuesday. A practice video. Riley's excited. Oh, there's no basketball involved here.
Yes, okay. Dude. They tease it with the Derek Dixon sprint, and I'm like, oh, we're about to get some real hoops. And then it's just like Caleb Wilson working a sled, which like great for Caleb. I'm glad he's bulking up. But I commented on the Instagram and was like, all right, I'm back to asking for practice clips. Like, come on, man. If you're going to do this, at least give us some real hoop to watch.
Oh, I just fell out of the frame laughing because I just love that bit so much. Okay, Riley, let's go to bold predictions. Do you want to go first or are you going to make me go first? What do you want to do?
I'll give mine first. Yeah.
Let's hit it.
Okay, Jiren Stevenson is the primary backup at the 3, 4, and the 5. He wins that backup 5 role. And
I love that. You're looking at the depth chart and it just says Jiren Stevenson after second slot for everybody.
Wait, I'm trying. Okay. You remember when Mark Byington did the whole bit of listing? Did he list every player as a point guard at Vandy, or did they not have positions? It's one or the other.
Yeah, I can't pull it off the
He
top
had-
of my head, but yes.
He had that quote where every player is a point guard. So dumb, man. Like I understand coaches have their bits and stuff, but like at least make it one that's believable. Just keep Jiren Stevenson with no position by his name on the official roster website. Let's lean into that and just make him Mr. Versatility, and that's his role this year.
That's right. I'm all in on it. For me, Jiren Stevenson lives up to his pre-college hype. And I know you said typically it's a guard that's a sixth man, but how about Jiren Stevenson, ACC sixth man of the year? Why not? Let's get that coming off the bench, maybe like 10 or 11 and 5 or 6, career high 37% from 3, right? He's got, maybe there's enough shooting around him, which I know is weird to think like, because so why didn't he do that at Bama when he had all that shooting around him? Fair. I received that rebuke in the name of the Lord. But like Jiren Stevenson, sixth man of the year, that's my bold prediction. That's what bold predictions are supposed to be. Unlikely to happen. And there you go. Okay, Riley, I have kind of a different type of an over-under for you with this one. 7.5 games in the starting lineup for Jiren Stevenson. Like, so we're factoring in things like injury or whatever it may be, or just like, hey, maybe Caleb is slow in developing here or there. And so Jiren starts at the 4, or it's an undersized team. So Jiren starts at the 3, or whatever it may be. 7.5 starts.
I'm going to take the under. I bet he ends up starting like, let's say 3 to 5 games. And maybe it's like injury related, or Kyan Evans is going through a funk and they try playing that jumbo lineup where you got either Seth or Luka at the 1. I just think the 2 positions that he would slot in most naturally, 4 and the 3, you got Caleb Wilson and Luka Bogavac there. And I really struggle to see either of those guys not being in the starting lineup as long as they're healthy.
That's right. That's right. And as long as Luka gets NCAA clearance, good grief.
So that's
make it happen. I've heard nothing from
that. I was kind of brushing. I still wouldn't be concerned about it. I think it happens, but it is a little frustrating that a lot of these international dudes got cleared within like a week or 2 of being on campus. So hopefully,
it's the kind of thing that there's never any lead up. It's just you wake up one morning, it's like, oh yeah, dude, Luka's good to go now. You know, it's like
yeah. But I just think what Carolina has invested in both Bogavac and Caleb, from like a resources perspective and even just the pitch to get them to come here, unless they're just like stinking it up at practice, they're going to be starting. And but still, like with Jiren, again, there's still a huge path for minutes. And I'm just going to keep hammering it home. It's on this coaching staff to get him comfortable in his role on offense and help him find ways to get on the court at that 5 spot as well.
This versatility is a massive uptick for Carolina, both because of his size and his defensive switchability and other things, Riley, that you were talking about earlier, man. Lots of fun. Great show, guys. As a reminder, we have a playlist of all of these player previews. I'm going to link it up there in the corner to the side of Riley's head for those of you watching on YouTube. Obviously, if you're listening, you can find it back in the podcast feed. Thanks so much for being with us. Make sure you give Riley a follow on social media. Check out all his great work at Sleepers and elsewhere, man. He's always killing the game, doing a lot of great stuff, not only just for the Tar Heels, but national college basketball in the lead up to the season. If you've not subscribed to our show on video and audio, do that right now so you don't miss a second. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, man, that's a great place to be. We're talking Tar Heels all day, every day. That link's in the show notes, as is the link for the aforementioned Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. We'd love to see you there as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk with Coach Rob tomorrow. Big thanks to our guy, Riley. But until then, peace.